Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. In this upload, we're going to be reading 2 Kings chapter 15. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, began Azariah, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, to reign. 16 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jechaliah of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father Amaziah had done. Save that the high places were not removed, the people sacrificed and burnt incense still on the high places. And the Lord smote the king so that he was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house. And Jotham, the king's son, was over the house, judging the people of the land. And the rest of the acts of Azariah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Azariah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the city of David. And Jotham his son reigned in his stead. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, did Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam, reign over Israel in Samaria 6 months. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his fathers had done. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Shallum, the son of Jabesh, conspired against him, and smote him before the people, and slew him, and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Zechariah, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel. This was the word of the Lord which he spake unto Jehu, saying, Thy sons shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the fourth generation. And so it came to pass. Shallum, the son of Jabesh, began to reign in the 39th year of Uzziah, king of Judah, and he reigned a full month in Samaria. For Menahem, the son of Gadi, went up from Tirzah and came to Samaria, and smote Shallum, the son of Jabesh, in Samaria, and slew him, and reigned in his stead. And the rest of the acts of Shalem and his conspiracy, which he made, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel. Then Menahem smote Tifsha, and all that were therein, and the coasts thereof from Tirzah, because they opened not to him. Therefore he smote it, and all the women therein that were with child he ripped up. In the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, began Menahem the son of Gadi to reign over Israel, and reigned 10 years in Samaria. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not all his days from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land, and Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom in his hand. And Menahem exacted the money of Israel, even of all the mighty men of wealth, of each man 50 shekels of silver, to give to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned back and stayed not there in the land. And the rest of the acts of Menahem and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel? And Menahem slept with his fathers, and Pekahiah his son reigned in his stead. In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah the son of Menahem began to reign over Israel and Samaria, and reigned 2 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. But Pekah the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired against him, and smote him in Samaria, in the palace of the king's house, with Argob and Arai, and with him 50 men of the Gileadites, and he killed him, and reigned in his room. And the rest of the acts of Pekahiah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel. In the 52nd year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah the son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and reigned 20 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon, and Abel Beth Maachah, and Janoah, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. And Hoshea the son of Elah made a conspiracy against Pekah the son of Remaliah, and smote him, and slew him, and reigned in his stead in the 20th year of Jotham the son of Uzziah. And the rest of the acts of Pekah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Israel. In the 2nd year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, the king of Israel, began Jotham the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, to reign. 25 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. He did according to all that his father Uzziah had done. Howbeit, the high places were not removed. The people sacrificed and burned incense still in the high places. He built the higher gate of the house of the Lord. Now, the rest of the acts of Jotham and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In those days, the Lord began to sin against Judah, Rezin the king of Syria, and Pekah the son of Remaliah. And Jotham slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father, and Ahaz his son reigned in his stead. In the previous chapter, 2 Kings 14, Amaziah becomes king of Judah at age 25. He reigns for 29 years. Amaziah is a godly king, but not as honorable as David. Judah still participates in idol worship, and Amaziah has the men who killed his father slain. Amaziah enjoys a victory, renaming the Edomite territory they have just acquired. He invites King Jehoash of Israel to a meetup. Jehoash refuses initially, but captures and defeats Amaziah since Amaziah insists that they meet up. Amaziah outlives Jehoash by 15 years. Jeroboam, Jehoash's son, restores territories from Judah to Israel. His son Zechariah takes his place. The current chapter, 2 Kings 15, we are focusing on leadership changes in Israel. The first king, Azariah or Uzziah, he reigns for 52 years over Judah. So that's why we don't see another king of Judah until verse 32. So, in verse 13, verse 32, and verse 34, King Azariah is also referred to as Uzziah. This is the same person, Jotham's father. Okay, verses 1 through 7 is about this king. Verses 8 through 12 is about King Zechariah of Israel. Verse 13 through 15, King Shalom. Verse 16 through 22, King Menahem. Verse 23 through 26, King Pekahiah. Verse 27 to 31, King Pekah. Verse 32 through 36, King Jotham, and then verses 37 through 38 details a conflict. I assume that this was during Jotham's reign over Judah. The kings of Syria and of Israel warred against his territory. Okay, so summarizing this chapter, the first thing I'd like to point out, the author of this book, Second Kings, is unknown. Okay? The reason why I'm telling you this is because, in addition to not knowing who wrote this chapter, there is no speaker. So, this is a narrative account from an unknown contributor. There's no dialogue. Okay? So, defining the speaker when we read helps us to determine what information we should be applying to our lives. There's a reason why when God speaks, when Jesus speaks, it's emphasized as being from God because, you know, depending on what kind of Christian you are, some people say God manifested through each person who contributed to the Bible, even though we don't know who wrote some of these books. My belief system is very different. I read First Kings 13. Okay, a prophet lied for no reason, and it ended another person's life. And so God didn't strike that person down. He was just allowed to lie because, in my belief, we get free will. If you want to do badly, you can. So, not to say this is not important to read, but we just need to make a distinction when God is speaking versus when someone else is speaking, and how much of that information we should be living by. Okay? Because if God didn't say it, there's a reason why. So we read the book of Leviticus and those dietary restrictions. We read the 10 Commandments in Exodus. God has the ability to be very clear and precise with what he wants us to do. So, okay, enough on that. A condensed history of how we get here today. So, this nation of people, this kingdom, are all Israelites. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob has an experience in the book of Genesis. He gets a name change to uh, Israel. Okay, so this group of people that are descendant from him in Judges chapter 1 have no leader, they have no kings, and they began to get appointed judges. but they were being called Israel in Judges chapter 1. Then we get to 2 Samuel 2. The nation of Israel, descending from Jacob, are now broken up or fractured into two territories, Israel and Judah. Okay, so when we get to 2 Samuel 5 and David becomes king, he becomes king during this fractured state. So for his first 7 years, he's only ruling over Judah. And after those 7 year period, now he's ruling over the entire nation. But it was a very complicated reign for him. We get to 1 Kings 11. David's son Solomon disobeys God. And after Solomon disobeys God, we never see this nation return to the way it was before it became fractured. So now we have two kingdoms. And when we get to 1 Kings 14, we see these new books, the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel, the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. And we will notice as we read here that every change in these territories are documented by Chronicles of Kings of Israel. So when we see a change in leadership in Israel, they will be noted as that book will be referenced, Chronicles of Kings of Israel. Okay, same with the Chronicles of Kings of Judah. So now we are on 2 Kings 15. And I just want to, from a Google search, Uzziah and Azariah are the same person. We will see in verse 13, 30, 32, and 34, we will see Uzziah be mentioned. Uzziah or Azariah, that's both Jotham's father. But again, this is a source from Wikipedia. The Bible is thousands of years old. We don't know who wrote this chapter. So we just need to take all of that into account when we're reading. Verses 1 through 7, King Azariah. King Azariah is the son of Amaziah. Okay, he reigns Judah for 52 years. So that's why we're not going to see another change in leadership of Judah until the very end, because these other changes of leadership are being measured as Azariah or Uzziah is reigning in Judah. So when he's on his 30 something year, we'll see a king in Israel. When he's on his a different year, we'll see that change in Judah, in Israel again. Okay. Jeroboam, um, so Jeroboam was the king of Israel uh, when Azariah became king of Judah. So Jeroboam is there's a second Jeroboam. The first one was in 1 Kings 12. He was also the leader or the king of Israel. This is not the same person. They're not related. It's just a coincidence. So King Azariah becomes king at 16 during the second Jeroboam's 27th year ruling Israel. He was righteous but allowed idol worship, and he died of leprosy. He had to live in a several house. When I looked that up, it did not give me a good definition. But if you click on the verse, which is one thing I love about Bible Ref, you will see 7 translations of the same verse displayed on the screen at the same time. This is very useful when we have a word like this. So in the King James, we have several house, but when we look at the New King James, isolated house. We look at the New Living Translation, separate house, quarantine in the Christian Standard, okay? So all this is just telling us is once this king was diagnosed with leprosy, he lived outside of the palace. The other thing that I want to point out, verse 5, and the Lord smote the king, because sometimes humans give God credit for things, and if we don't know who wrote this, we just have to trust them that they know that God is the one who smote this king with leprosy. We get to verses 8 through 12. So when Azariah or Uzziah has been ruling Judah for 38 years, Jeroboam's son Zechariah becomes king of Israel for 6 months. Okay, we don't know how old he is. And he only reigns for 6 months. He was not he committed evil and he was killed by some guy named Shalem, and Shalem took his spot. So now we see this change, the rest of the Acts of Zechariah, written in the books of the Chronicles of Kings of Israel, because we're seeing a leadership change in Israel. When we look at verse 12, this is fulfilling God's promise or agreement to Jehu. Jehu in 2 Kings 10, verse 30, pleased God with his actions. And so God agrees that for your lineage will sit, or your lineage will rule over Israel for the next 4 generations. So we have Jehoahaz in 2 Kings 10, Jehoash in 2 Kings 13, Jeroboam in 2 Kings 14, and then in 2 Kings 15, verse 8, we have Zechariah. So after Zechariah dies, that fulfills that in 2 Kings 10. Okay? Now we get from 13 to 15. The man named Shallum, he rules Israel for 1 month. He begins to rule Israel in Uzziah or Azariah's 39th year ruling Judah. He reigns a full month. Then in verse 14, we learn that a man named Menahem took Shalem's life, took his spot. And then we see again this change in leadership. They are written in the book of the Chronicles of Kings of Israel. Okay. Then Menahem smote these 2 territories because they would not grant him access. And it also says that he also was violent with the pregnant women in that area. So verse 17, I apologize, verse 16 through 22, King Menahem of Israel, well, it's about Menahem, but in verse 17, we are introduced, okay? So when Azariah or Uzziah is in his 39th year ruling Judah, Menahem becomes king of Israel, and he reigns 10 years. He committed evil, and there was an Assyrian king in verses 19 and 20. Assyria is a different territory than Syria. But the name of the king is King Pul. He's either threatening Menahem or preparing to go to war with Menahem. So Menahem gets money from everyone, the mighty men of wealth, the rich men in his territory, to give money to this king so that he won't go to war with them, and he decides to not go to war with them. So then we get to verse 21 and 22. Menahem, he is, again, we see this change in leadership. All that he did, they're not written in the book of the Chronicles of Kings of Israel. And then Menahem dies, and his son Pekahiah becomes king. Okay, so this has been a while since someone's son actually became king. So Pekahiah, verse 23 through 26. Okay, Pekahiah becomes king of Israel when Azariah or Uzziah has been the king of Judah for 50 years. He reigned 2 years, Pekahiah. He committed evil. And there was a man named Pekah who was a captain of his military who conspired against Pekahiah, took his life, and became king. So again, we see this change in leadership, the rest of the acts of Pekahiah, all that he did, written in the book of Kings of Israel. Okay. Then we get to the 52nd year of Azariah or Uzziah, the king of Judah. Because remember, Azariah, he reigns for 52 years. So we're now in his 52nd year. On his 52nd year, Pekah becomes the king of Israel through conspiring to murder the previous king. Of course, Pekah was he committed evil. And it says here, in the days of Pekah, the king of Israel the king of Assyria, and took 8 territories and the inhabitants. Then we get to verse 30. Hoshea conspires against Pekah and takes his place. And so we know that Azariah slash Uzziah, his son is Jotham. Okay, so that's why we see Azariah right here in the 250th year. Then we get down here because we know that Uzziah or Amaziah, he reigns for 52 years. So when Pekah, the king of Israel, has a conspiracy against him, that's when his son Jotham becomes king. So Jotham has been reigning for 20 years in Israel, and Pekah is murdered, and the next king, Hosea, takes his place. We also learn how that time is different in verse 32, uh, because we learn now when Jotham comes to power in uh, Jerusalem. This is important, or Judah. This is important because remember, his father, Uzziah or Amaziah, uh, Ahaziah, I think, but his father, okay, was ruling for 52 years. So it's a big deal when the leadership changes. So it lets us know that his son becomes king. Jotham becomes king the second year Pekah becomes king of Israel. So in Pekah's second year, Jotham begins reigning over Israel. And he's just what this was saying in the previous chapter or the previous verse. Hosea conspired against Pekah to take his place. Okay, when Jotham was in his 20th year. I hope that's clear because this took me so much to get through. And yeah. So verse 32 through 36, we just get a few more details about Jotham. So Pekah is ruling for Israel 2 years. He becomes king at age 25. He was righteous, but he did not remove idol worship. And we learn that he either repaired or added to a structure. Then again, we see this leadership change. He's written in the Chronicles of Kings of Judah. We've only seen one change in leadership in Judah. So it also says, in those days, the Lord began to sin against Judah, raised in the king of Syria and Pekah, the son of Remaliah. Um, so then it comes back and says Jotham slept with his fathers. So I'm assuming that while Jotham was alive, he was warring with the king of Syria and the king of Israel. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I love you. I love you. I love you. Have a wonderful day.